thank Dr. Parks and Mrs. Hope for inviting us to be able to present to you today. I'm sure that we will say something that you can glean from our conversation. I don't want to go farther into my introduction. I'm going to let Robert introduce himself.
Okay, well, I do want to also say thank you to Dr. Parks and my sister, Mrs. Holt. I hope that's something that we actually say today that you're actually able to carry along with you to help you decide what type of career and college path that you're going to take. And I think my mother and I, we're going to do two separate introductions so that we can actually give you a little bit background information about what we've done and where we are now. But I will say, please feel free to ask any questions. If you have any questions, you can type them out in the chat, or you can just hold your questions because we're going to periodically ask if you have any questions. So just make sure that you hold those questions. Also, at the end, we're going to give away a prize today. So make sure that you're listening because we're going to ask a few questions. So just make sure that you're listening and we will go from there. All right.
Okay. And actually, we're going to give away several prizes. Not just a prize, but several prizes. I just want to let you all know that I would like for you all to introduce yourself. Tell me one thing about yourself before I go into my introduction, because when I get into my introduction, I'm going to talk about family, I'm going to talk about my education, and I'm going to talk about where I am now in my profession. But before we do that, we want you to introduce yourself and tell us one thing that you would like to share.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm Lanicia Postel, and my favorite color is blue.
Awesome.
Okay.
My name is Layla Ballard, and I'm outgoing.
Yes. Okay, Layla.
Okay, good.
My name is Nancy Cochran, and I'm very
awesome.
That's good.
My name is Shakira Freeman, and I'm 15.
Okay.
My name is Jamar Whitaker. I play football.
All right.
My name is Soma Robertson, and I'm going to be in 10th grade.
Okay, awesome.
My name is Lillian Wright with a W at the beginning, and I run track.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Camilla Amen, and my favorite color is pink.
Okay.
My name Kaden Dean, and I do flag.
Okay. Awesome. Anyone else?
My name is Tabor, and I want to be a physical therapist.
Physical therapist, okay. Awesome.
My name is Macy Jones, and I want to be a pediatrician.
Okay.
My name is Aya Kindred, and my favorite subject is math.
Oh, awesome.
My name is Kalia Owens, and I'm 14.
Okay. Is that it? I believe so. Thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. That give us a little something about you all. And we want to go on with our personal introduction now. As Christian forestated, Mrs. Holt if I call her Christian, it's not out of disrespect. It's that she is my baby girl. But as she has forestated, I am her mother. I was born and reared in Fort Valley. So I am a native of Fort Valley. I am an only child, and I was raised by my mom, my grandmother, and my aunts. My dad was killed when I was 11 years old. Before I was born, my mom had a son who died at the age of 6 months old from acute pneumonia. After that, my mom began to drink heavily because she couldn't cope with the loss of a son, of a child. So I considered myself to be very blessed to be surrounded by extended families who was there for me, supporting me. And I can remember when I was a freshman in high school, and that's been a long time, I had a teacher who had a tremendous love and compassion for me and for all of the other students. She invited me to church with her. And this was a place where she and her husband pastored. And my mom attended as well. And because of their love and their prayers and their compassion, and they counseled with my mom was able to turn her life around and stop drinking. Today I can say that, and I kind of get teary a little bit, but today I can say that my mom, she is now a teetotaler. And I don't know whether you all have ever heard of that word before, teetotaler. And that means that she no longer drinks alcohol, but she has been free of alcohol for over 42 years now. And I think it was because of the love and the prayers and the concern that my 9th grade teacher displayed toward her and toward me. So as an educator, teachers can have a great impact on the lives of their students because I'm a living example. Looking at my education, I was blessed to be supported, as I said, by an extended family, even the times when my mom wasn't able to be there. My grandmother was there. My aunts was there, even my uncles. And I never felt like I was alone because even though my mom wasn't there and my dad was dead, I still was surrounded by people who loved me. And looking at my educational endeavors, I am a first-generational college grad. Nobody in my family had ever graduated from college, and very few of them completed high school. My first college experience was a disaster. Like all of young people, you want to get away from home. And for some young people, that's a good thing. I thought I wanted to get away from home. But when I went to Middle Georgia College, and it's not even far from here, it was in Cochran, Georgia at the time. And I was majoring in nursing. And I went there, and my experience, they told me when I went there that they would, when I went for a visit, my mom and I and some of my other relatives, that they would give me a roommate that was compatible to me, because I had to fill out the questionnaire, and so they would compare me with someone that that had the same interest that I had. Well, that was the first mistake. They lied. They gave me a roommate that was totally opposite My roommate partied, stayed out late, came in bringing people with her, and the dorms were, you did not have a separate room. We had a big room together with 2 beds in there, so there was no privacy. And even when we went to take showers, they had a universal shower down the hall, so it could be 20 people taking a shower at the same time. And I wasn't used to that because I was an only child, remember? And so it was just a disaster. And on top of that, girls, the boys raided our dorm. It was an all-girls dorm. The boys raided the dorm, a panty raid. I don't know whether y'all heard of that before, but it was a panty raid. And so our house mother, she got on the intercom and say, lock your doors, we're having a panty raid. And it was just a total experience that I don't want to experience again. And then I was homesick on top of that. I did not finish out the quarter. We was on a quarter system. And so I came back home. And when I came back home, my grandmother said, I told you so. I told you you didn't need to go away. And she was right. She was definitely right. But everybody don't have that experience, but that's the experience that I had going off to college. And so I came back home and I transferred to Macon State College. It was Macon State at the time. And I continued to major in nursing. And I went to Macon State for, it was maybe a year and a half, and I transferred to Middle Georgia Tech Institute, where I received my nursing degree. And also, I passed the state licensure and became a licensed nurse. Later, I attended the Fort Valley State University. The Fort Valley State University. And I received a bachelor's degree from Fort Valley. I received a master's degree from Fort Valley in early childhood education. And then I later went to Troy State University in Alabama, and I commuted. I did some classes online, and then I commuted. I wasn't even thinking about staying on campus. After that first experience, I did not want to stay on campus at all. And so I received my education specialist degree from Troy State. And then right now I am pursuing a doctorate degree at Walden University, where I am working on my dissertation now, and hopefully I'll be finished by the end of the year. My profession, you all are probably wondering, well, she started in nursing and then she changed over to education. But I've always had a passion to work with children. And I believe I heard someone, when they introduced themselves, said they wanted to work with pediatrics, working with children, being a pediatrician. Well, my passion was geriatrics. And geriatrics in nursing is working with the elderly. So I've always had a love for the elderly people. I used to like to just go and sit around elderly people just to glean some wisdom from them. And also I have a love for children. And so God blessed me to be able to fulfill both of my dreams. I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to be a nurse. I worked as a nurse for 12 years before I became an educator. And right now, I have been an educator for over 24 years. I've taught pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I did long-term substitution for teachers who had to go out on maternity leave right in Fort Valley at the middle school, Fort Valley Middle School, 6th and 7th grade. Also, I've been an EIP reading teacher, a reading specialist, early intervention. That's for students who struggle with reading and writing. Also, Presently, I am an ESOL teacher, which I work with students who has English for a second language. And so I am blessed to have had 2 careers. And I've always kept my nursing license updated, because if I don't have a teaching job, I got a plan B. I can always go back to nursing. And so that's, that's my life, family, education, profession. Do anyone have any questions that you would like to ask me about anything that I said concerning my family, education, or my profession?
How was it like going back and forth to college and like changing your major and changing jobs so much? Like, did you enjoy that, or was it like stressful?
No, actually, I enjoyed it. Because my experience with the college life, it wasn't for me. I have always been close to my family, and being away from my family for that just, I think I came back home before the 3 months was over, because the quarter system was on a 3-month period. And so I think I didn't even make 2 months at the college. So I came back, I came back home, and then I began to commute from Macon State, from Fort Valley to Macon every day. Of course, before I got my license, I was commuting with someone that I knew. And then my mom and my grandparents, they came together, they bought me a car. And I got my license, and I was able to drive myself. And then when I had to go to Alabama, back then, it wasn't online they didn't have online classes like this. They would send you VHS tapes in the mail, and you would have to listen to those tapes and do the assignments, and you only had to drive. I think I maybe drove to Alabama twice. And then when I got ready to graduate, of course, I had to go. But I just mailed my assignments in, and they sent me some more tapes. I know you all said that's old, but that's the way it was back then. It wasn't online classes. Now with Walden, I'm taking online classes. But it wasn't stressful to me at all, because it was my passion. It was something that I wanted to do. Anyone else? Okay, and of course, if you have a question and you don't, you think of it later, you can just put it in the chat box, and we will check that, and we will try to answer it to the best of our ability. Mr. Smith?
All right, thank you. As my mother was telling her story, my story is a little bit different from hers, of course. I have both of my parents, my mom and my dad, and both of them actually attended college. I was born in Fort Valley, Georgia, and I attended and graduated from Peach County High School. Actually, I graduated from Peach County High School in 2004. And I was band drum major at that particular time. They probably still have my picture posted somewhere in the band room before they get ready to move. But I did graduate from there. When I graduated, I was actually number 3 in my class at that particular time, which actually caused me to receive or get offered a lot of scholarships. I ended up applying for a lot of schools during that particular time, because I believe that you should always give yourself options. Don't just apply to one school and say, hey, I'm gonna go to Valdosta State and that's it. But make sure that you give yourself some options. So I actually gave myself some options, and I applied to all types of school at that particular time. So I was offered several scholarships, but I narrowed down the schools that I wanted to go to. And at that time, I think the schools that I narrowed it down to were Claflin University, which is in South Carolina, and Rochester University, which is in New York. And at that particular time, I was leaning more so to Rochester University, but both of those schools actually offered me a full ride, and Claflin actually offered me a ride for academics and music at that particular time. However, at the last minute, probably like in July, before August, before it was time to start the fall semester, I actually went to a campus tour at Oglethorpe University, which is actually in Atlanta, Georgia. In Oglethorpe University, I changed my mind and I decided to go there. And the reason I decided to go there at that particular school is because of the small class sizes. The class sizes were very, very small, and that appealed to me at that particular time because I just did not want to sit in an auditorium with over 100 people and just be a number and nobody know my name. I didn't like that. So I wanted to be in a small class size so I could actually talk to the teacher and know what's going on. I think that's very important. Anytime you get ready to choose a school, make sure that that school actually has everything that you're actually looking for, from class size to the demographic that you're looking for, also the area and location. There's no reason to go out and go to a school way out in the country and you don't have a car and you can't get to the grocery store. That makes no sense. So make sure that whatever location that you choose, it's befitting for yourself. At that particular time, it was at Oglethorpe University. It's on the north side of Atlanta. And I didn't have a car at that particular time, but I knew that the MARTA bus and the MARTA train station was down the street, plus taxis. So I knew what I was going to be able to, and I was going to have to do. So that's why I chose that. When I got there to that particular school, my major was biology. I started out with the biology major. Got through probably until my sophomore year. My sophomore year, I ended up changing my mind because I had took chemistry 1, chemistry 2. I love biology, but when I started taking chemistry 1, chemistry 2, and then it changed over to organic chemistry and all of that. And I got tired of chemistry, just to be honest. I got tired of taking chemistry. So I let that go, and I was like, I'm gonna change my major. So I ended up changing it to biopsychology, which is how biology and psychology actually relate. But then I ended up changing my mind once again. And I ended up just changing over to psychology. So when I graduated from Oglethorpe University, I ended up having a bachelor's of arts in psychology degree, and I graduated in 2008 with that. After that, I began to work at a psychiatric hospital as a behavioral associate and therapist. And when I worked there, I actually worked with all demographics, and from ages 8 all the way, I think the oldest person I worked with was like 105. I've seen everything from all type of mental illnesses. So if you think about stuff that you see on TV, such as multiple personalities and all kind of stuff, people talking to dogs and that's not there, and all kind of stuff like that, I've seen all of that. All types of addictions, I've actually dealt with that as well. But I decided to work there. I actually worked there from maybe like six to 7 years. And then I kind of got burned out because at that particular job, you end up seeing people at their worst all of the time. And I got kind of tired of that. So I ended up changing my career and I went into education. I actually have a master of teaching in secondary education. So I've been teaching middle school for about 5 years now. Currently, I teach 7th and 8th grade social studies, but I have taught science as well. So I've actually done several things in my career change. And I think the biggest thing that you guys take away from my experience is that sometimes what you plan may not be what you want to do, and it changes. So when things change, you just, hey, this is not for me. I'm gonna have to change. I'm not gonna just do something just to be doing it, but I'm gonna make sure that whatever I do is something that I'm very passionate about and I'm interested in.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me? All right.
Y'all a quiet group.
I have a question for Mr. Smith, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was the worst experience you had with working with those types of people?
You talking about in the psychiatric hospital?
Yes, sir.
There's many experiences from. I remember this when I was dealing with somebody with geriatrics, an older man. He was like 75 years old. We were trying to help him down the hallway, and he just literally just looked over and punched me in the jaw out of nowhere. But he didn't know what he was doing at the particular time. And probably maybe like 10 minutes later, he walked back up to the desk. Hey, how you doing? And I was like, you just hit me. You just hit me in my jaw. What you talking about? But there's so many things as far as that, from actually being heartbroken from having dealt with kids. I think I'm a child that was maybe like 12 years old. He didn't want to go home. He had a bad relationship at home with his parents. He didn't want to go home, so he ended up, when it was time for him to go home, he actually jumped out of the car as it was going down the road, and ran off into some store, and I think he may have took like a whole bunch of Tylenol pills and things of that nature, and then they brought him back to the psychiatric hospital, and he just came back up to the desk, and I was like, why are you back so soon? He was like, hey. I was like, what's going on? He's talking about, I just didn't want to go home. So it's a lot there when you deal with those particular people in that capacity. They're at their worst. They have not been stabilized. They ain't got the medicine that they need to just calm their mind and brain down. So sometimes you see them at their worst, and it can be it can be irritating, it can be frustrating. It can be sad. Sometimes it can be funny. It can be you can be happy. It's just a mixture of different emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Yes. How do you, if you were to tell us how to handle ourselves in a psychiatric facility, how would you tell us to do that?
As a worker?
Yes.
As a worker, I think working in a psychiatric hospital is not good to take on. It's not good to take on the patient's problems, and a lot of workers end up taking on their patient's problems. I feel sad, and I'm down and out because they're down and out. But you have to make sure that you're there when you work in there, that you're there to actually uplift them and help them and give them a positive experience. Because I've seen a lot of people, I ended up doing that, taking on some people problems. You get in there, you talk to them in group, they're sad, they're telling their story, and then you end up being sad. You know, that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that you uplift them, give them some encouragement, and help them with their process to get out in a better light.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Anybody?
What was your scariest experience?
Scariest experience. I had a lot. Probably one I would say this. One of the scariest I've worked one night. I worked night shift, and working night shift. It was probably maybe like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was working with older kids, older adults, and I was trying to take a nap. And in the middle of the night, in the wee other hours of the night, the fire alarm went off. And some people came banging on the particular door, bum rushed in that particular room, screaming and yelling. I went out, and it was a patient out there. He had pulled the fire alarm, and he was throwing all kind of stuff, moving chairs and knocking down all kind of stuff. Scary moment, because he wasn't like a little man. He was actually really, really big, and we ended up having to call a code on him, and it took maybe like 5 or 6 people to hold him down. and we had to put him in what you call seclusion rooms. Probably what you probably see on TV, the padded rooms, that's the seclusion room. We had to put him in there. The nurse had to give him a shot. We had to put him on a board and have him locked up with his hands and things of that nature. So I've actually seen a lot and had a whole lot of scary moments where you can get hurt. You can get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I think we're gonna move on. We're gonna give you some more time to ask us some more questions. But we're gonna go through today. We're gonna talk about life's journey and the journey of life as it relates to us. So we're gonna actually give you some key quotes, and we're gonna talk about it, and maybe some of you all will help us define some of this thing. But this is one of the first ones that we actually wanted just to start off with. It says, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. I like this boat because once you leave, that boat is sitting out there in the middle of the water. It can decide whatever way it wants to go. It can go to the left, it can go straight, it can go right, it can go whatever way you want it to go. But sometimes you can't go back. The past, you can't go back. You can't change what happened yesterday. There's no way. If that was the case, then everybody would be pressing rewind. But they can't. You can't. So we have to actually move forward. And I think that this quote is very important for that. Make sure that you don't focus on changing yesterday, but make sure that you're focusing on what you can do today so you can change tomorrow.
Yes.
You got something to say, Mama?
That's good. That's good. That's good, Mr. Smith, because if we dwell on the past, we'll never be able to move forward into the future. And so, yes, we start where we are and we continue to go and continue to grow.
Okay. All right. So today we're going to talk about 4 keys to being successful. Keys to being successful. It is very important. I think everybody has a desire to be successful, want to accomplish, want to go and have a nice career, make money, and love what you're doing. Everybody wants to do that. I think a lot of times in that picture on the side that you see there, you have 2 cliffs right there. Sometimes in life, the successful side or the successful part seems far away. And a lot of times it seems far away is because we don't see the steps that we need to make in order to be successful. And as you can see, that man, he's walking on top of success to get to the other side. And that's what we must do. We must make sure that we're headed toward the other side of being successful. So I think my mom, she's going to start it off with the first key. Here we go.
And looking at that man walking across that on top of success, you know, he have a goal that he's trying to reach. And I believe that's the first thing, one of the first keys to success is setting goals. You got to have a roadmap and a guide to help you get where you want to, to help you get to your destination. And first you got to create your goals, and then you got to have a plan to execute those goals. Because just creating the goals is not going to get you there. But you got to have a plan on how you're going to execute those goals. What are you going to do to help you get there? That was always a saying that I heard throughout my educational career, is that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. In other words, if you fail to make a goal or set out a plan on how to reach those goals, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So you got to have some goals. What do you want to do in life? You got to write those things down. And I believe that most of you are sophomores, and I think I have a couple of seniors there. So it's time now, even when you get to high school, before you get to high school, to start thinking about what do you want to do in life? And as Mr. Smith said earlier, it's okay to change, because sometimes we have to abort those goals and then get some more goals. But we never want to stop. until we reach that destination.
Okay. Yes, it's very important. As you can see in that side picture there, it says set goals, crush them, repeat. That's what you have to remember. Set goals, that means create your particular goals, crush them, make sure that you accomplish every goal that you set, and then repeat. In other words, when you repeat, it's time to set another goal and then work on accomplishing that particular goal. It's an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
This first quote, and I want somebody to tell me what it means, if you can actually tell me what this particular one means. It says, setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. Can anybody tell me what you think that means? Oh, know what it means?
A dream. A dream of yours.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Dreams. She said dreams. Dreams. Okay. As it relates to dreams. Anybody else have something to say?
It's saying that you can turn, like, you could turn your vision into reality.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Good.
Both of those are actually good. Dreams and then turning your visions into reality. I actually like that.
Me too.
The invisible. Sometimes right now where you are, you know what you want to be. I think my mama mentioned it early. Somebody said they wanted to be a pediatrician or some sort. With that, right, sitting where you are, that may look invisible because you don't see it coming into fruition yet. But once you make steps, okay, I know I need to apply for school. I know I need to make sure I get this on my GPA to get into that school. I know once you start making those particular steps, then, okay, I can see myself becoming that pediatrician because I'm headed towards that particular goal, as opposed to just sitting there. It's almost like that picture right there. If we keep standing right here and looking at that picture, we can't actually see what's in that fog. But the more we walk down those steps, the fog disappears and it becomes visible. Okay. All right, Mama.
Very good.
Miss Smith. I don't keep calling Mama. Mrs. Smith, go ahead.
A goal without a plan is just a dream. And I think I just heard one of the students say about a dream. What the vision is, the vision, the invisible, the slide. Can you go back to that slide, Smith? Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. That means you got to have a vision. Go back to the other one, You got to have a purpose. You got to have a focus. So a goal without a plan is just a dream. You got to have a goal. You got to have a plan on how to get there. As I said earlier, you got to be able to create. You got to be able to plan. And then you got to be able to execute. And if you don't have those three things, then you're not going to be able to reach that goal. So you got to have a way of getting there. I've heard many people say that, one day I'm going to be a doctor, but you've never done anything to help get you there. And so you got to have a plan on how are you going to get there. You can sit there all day and say you're going to New York, but if you never make a plan to get there, you're not going to get there. And so it's okay to set the goals, but you got to have a plan to get there. If not, it's just a dream.
That's right. Okay. This one says, you are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of your choice. Everybody is able to choose, make a choice. You're able to choose the path that you want to. But keep in mind, there are consequences to every choice that you make, whether positive or negative. There's going to be some results of that. I think one of the biggest things now as a middle school teacher that I see is that a lot of people don't think about their actions until it's almost too late. Right now we have social media is big with that. We have Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all those different things like that. And people actually put things out there, post things, and you don't think about your actions. You just acting out of your emotions sometimes. Some people put stuff up there because I'm mad. I'm mad and I want to tell the world how I feel. But all of those things that you post, especially where you are now in high school, and even when you get older, like my mom and I, people, when you go to jobs and you apply for school, they look at all of that. They look at everything. They look at everything. All your Facebook, all your posts and things, they will actually log in there. And I don't care if you think that your stuff is private, because all my stuff is private. But that means nothing. They can actually get into it and look at your stuff and see who you are. You have to remember that whatever you put out for everybody to see, you want to make sure that it's a good representation of who you are.
Yes.
One thing that I actually tell my students at school is, because a lot of people, they end up getting in trouble. All of that stuff that when they get in trouble, it goes in documentation. It's on black and white. It goes down on paper. When it goes down on paper, then everybody that reads it, they have a preconceived idea of who you are. And a lot of times you don't have an interview. They can't come to you and be like, what happened to you at that fight? They can't give you a mic that asks you that particular question and you don't have no answer. They're just going to look at it and be like, So don't do that to yourself. Make sure it's a proper representation of who you are. You don't want to see that. A lot of people, I have some students, love them to death, but I have some students, I'm going to ISS. I'm going to go to ISS. I'm going to OSS. All that right there. And they get, going down there. But all that stuff is going to be on documentation. It's on documentation. And when it's on documentation, it's black and white. Somebody else is going to see it. So don't do that. Make sure it's a good representation of yourself. Some people, they like to, I call it, I'm a very candid teacher, so I say what's on my mind. A lot of people, they like to dumb down. I'm gonna dumb down, act like I don't know what's going on, or I can't do my work because I want to be cool. That's not what, that's not cool. That's not cool. Actually, that's not cool at all. Because a lot of people are gonna go ahead and go on with life and then you get left behind. Don't let that happen to you. Make sure whatever you put out there is your best. It's a good choice to make sure that it's a good representation of yourself.
Very good.
Okay. Any comments on that before we move on? Okay.
I'm glad, Mr. Smith, that you brought out about posting, because when you apply for colleges and universities, they're not going to only look at your admission packet. They're also going to look at your social media to see whether or not you got a social media out there, and they're going to look at your post, as Mr. Smith said. So keep that in mind as you are communicating on social media. I just wanted to reiterate that.
Okay. This one just says, life is all about making choices. Always do your best to make the right ones, and always do your best to learn from the wrong ones. Everybody makes mistakes.
That's
right. You don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. When you do something over and over again, if this wall behind me, if I keep hitting my head on the wall, I just keep hitting my head on the wall, that's called insanity. That's what that's called. It's insanity. That's going crazy. You don't do that. So make sure that whatever mistake that you made, that you learn from that mistake, and then you move on. Okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Smith.
That was good. That was good, Mr. Smith. Peer pressure. Be yourself, be authentic. I need someone to share with me. What do you, when you think of peer pressure, what do you think about? What comes to your mind? What do you know about peer pressure?
Like,
I'm sorry.
Like your friends like trying to hype you up to do something you don't want to do.
Yes, yes, yes. And one thing about peer pressure, and Mr. Smith and I was talking about this last night, you know, following the crowd can sometimes get you in a lot of trouble. I can remember one of my friends was hanging out when I was younger with a group of people, and they went to the store, and one of the persons in there stole something. Well, when the police got there, they didn't just take that person down that stole something, but everybody was charged. Everybody was an accessory to the crime. just because they was there with that person who was stealing. And so we have to make sure that we choose our friends and don't be pressured by our peers. If you know that somebody is doing wrong, try to get away from them as far as you can. Don't just stand there and, you know, because they know you came in with them, they know you're with them. So, you know, you try to get away from them. Don't be pressured by your peers to do something that is wrong and you know it's wrong. But be yourself, be authentic, be real.
I think what my mom just said about the crowd, and as we were talking yesterday, I said just because the crowd is there doesn't mean it's right. And I think that everybody probably know that, or probably seen it in school. A fight break out, the crowd runs over there to go see. That don't mean they're passing out money in the middle of it. That's not what that means. It's something bad going on in the middle. So make sure that wherever the crowd is, that does not necessarily mean that you have to be there or you need to be there.
That's right.
Can somebody tell me what you think this means? It says, when you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. Can somebody tell me what that means?
Putting yourself first.
Okay. Yes.
Make sure you ain't doing nothing you don't want to do.
Yes.
That's
right.
Don't say yes just to fit in when you really want to say no.
Yes, yes, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all of those were magnificent. All of those are great. When you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. A lot of times, say yes to somebody, to what somebody else is doing, and what happens is it changes your future. It changes your life. I think my mama just used that example of the people in the store. They went in the store with somebody that was stealing, the person stole, and guess what? They got affected. Their life got affected by the yes that they gave those other people by going in there. So make sure that whatever's happening, that you're actually making sure that it affects you. Whatever decisions you make, it affects you in a good light, in a positive manner.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Stand up for what you believe and believe in. I'm sorry. Stand up for what you believe in, even if it means standing alone. And that goes back to what you said, Mr. Smith. You know, sometimes being with the crowd doesn't mean that what is right. Sometimes you have to go along, especially when you know the crowd is going the wrong way. And sometimes you have to be by yourself. And so don't be afraid to stand alone, especially when you're standing up for what is right.
Okay, this one says, and I used to have this in one of my classrooms, it says, stay true to yourself. An original is worth more than a copy. In other words, let's not be fake. That's what that means. In other words, let's not be fake. Make sure that you're staying true to yourself. A lot of people, they change because they want to fit in. They change because they want to. They want somebody to like them. You don't have to do that. Be yourself. Be who you are. Be who you are. An original is worth more than a copy. If you go, I think my mama used this last night. If you go and buy a Picasso painting, an original Picasso painting, that is worth thousands and probably millions of dollars, depending on which one it is.
Yes.
But if you go get a copy from the thrift store, they're gonna be about 25 cents. So don't do that. You don't want to have a copy. You want to make sure that you're being authentic. You're being yourself.
That's right. Amen. And don't be afraid to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are all beautifully and wonderfully made. Don't be afraid to be different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. This one says, don't change. Go ahead. That goes with what you're going to say.
That goes with what I just said. Don't change so people will like you. Be yourself, and the right people will love you. People look for authenticity. They look for realness, for trueness. You know, sometimes people want to put on airs. Just be yourself. People will appreciate you for who you are.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This says character. Character, who are you? Character is the real foundation of all worthwhile success. Your character, the way that you present yourself, the way that you act is very important. You have to know who you are, and you have to make sure that you're doing what you need to do in order to accomplish every goal that you set, whether it's personal goals or whether educational goals. You have to make sure your character aligns with that. So we're going to give you a couple of slides, and we're not going to take a whole lot of time. But this says your life is a stage for yourself. It depends on you and how you perform. Everybody is standing on the stage of life. Everybody has a stage. You're standing there on the stage of life. How are you performing? You can, everybody, all of you all can actually, I can do it. My mom can do it. My sister and Dr. Parks can do that. They can all evaluate yourself and determine how are you doing in life? Am I accomplishing any goals? Am I working towards any goals? Am I trying to do my best, or am I am I just being mediocre, or am I just being lazy? How are you doing on your performance right now? And everybody has to take out time in their life to reevaluate yourself, find out if you're doing the right thing at this particular time. Go ahead. This says everything starts within your own mind. Your thoughts, attitude, and determination are all essential for success. And we're gonna run through a couple so we have enough time at the end. But this right here is just simply saying that everything starts in the mind. You have to get your mind right. If you think that you can't, then most likely you're not. It's almost to the point. I know some people. I think one of the young men said he played football. If you get out there and you stand there, I can't run down there. I ain't gonna be able to catch it. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I ain't gonna be able to do it. Then most likely you're not. But if you have to get out there and change your mind and say, hey, no, I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna get this. I didn't do it yesterday, but I'm about to do it today. You have to make sure that you change your attitude and change your thought, your mind process.
That's right. And also just think about that. Just think about that little engine that could. All of you know that story when you was in pre-K kindergarten, that little engine, he thought he didn't think he could get up the hill. But then after he thought about it and he made it there, he said, what? I knew I could. But at first he didn't think he could do it. So yes, so as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think that you're going to be great and do the things that you need to do in order to be great, you're going to get there. But it all starts in the mind, as Mr. Smith said. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Okay, can anybody tell me what this means? It says your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Anybody have any idea what that means?
Your attitude will determine whether you will make it to the top or not.
Very well said. Very well said. Very well said. A lot of times your attitude will determine, as she just said, how far you go, not your aptitude. Aptitude is what you know. You can have all A's and all hundreds, or you can play the best game, or you can sing the best song. You have the most beautiful voice, but if your attitude is jacked up and nasty, nobody wants to be around you. Nobody's going to want to hire you. Nobody's want you to be on their team. Nobody wants to accept you into their school or in any type of program. So you have to make sure your attitude aligns up with what you want, where you want to go.
That's right.
Very good, whoever said that.
Your attitude aligns up with the character you want to portray. If you want to have a good character, then you need to have a good attitude. Attitude is everything. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. You know, when I think about that, I think about the scenario that says when life gives you lemons, what are you going to do with it? You can either take the lemons and make a good cold sweet glass of lemonade, or you just let the lemon stay there and be bitter. And so some people, it depends on your choice. How are you going to react to it? And some things, everything that happened to us, we're going to have to react, whether we're going to react in a positive way or we're going to react in a negative way. So it's always about how we respond to situations that happen to us.
That's right. Okay. All right, time. Don't waste, this is the last one, time. Don't waste the time that has been given to you. I love this picture on the side. If you everybody look at that picture, I love that picture. That is a picture of somebody's head, and you can actually see the time going away. They're just losing time. They're just leaving their head, going into the air, into the sky. I love that picture. Don't waste the time. Everybody's giving some time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste the time. Right here, I'm going to actually show you a little short clip. It won't take long. So I'm gonna show it with you all. Show it to you all really, really quickly.
Please listen carefully because we have some questions at the end, remember.
Okay, let's see here. And this may be something that everybody has probably seen before. maybe not, but here we go. In other words, in other words, don't let that happen to you. Okay. A lot of time, if you guys look at that, that particular clip, Sonic was actually running around. He was doing everything else, just running around doing everything else he wanted to do in that particular life. In that particular clip, running around, but he was not paying attention to the time that he had. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And he ended up, in this case, dying because he didn't go and grab that bubble of air. That's what he was supposed to be doing, grabbing that bubble of air for oxygen to accomplish what he needed to do. Don't waste time. Real quickly, it is not enough to be busy. So are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? A lot of times, a lot of people are just busy. I can be busy doing it right here. I'm busy, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not accomplishing anything by doing this. Make sure that whatever you're being busy about, that you're actually accomplishing something.
Yes.
I think we're gonna jump right there. Mom, you want to talk about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, when there's a hill to climb, don't think that waiting will make it smaller. And I think that just goes back to what you just said. You know, just being busy or just doing nothing is not going to help you get there. Mm-hmm. You know, you see the hill there, and you're just going to wait until it gets smaller. You're never going to get over that hill, but you got to make a step. I think every journey begins with one step. So you got to make a step. And that's having a focus and a purpose and setting goals.
That's right. I think it's very important. In this particular picture, this lady is actually walking down towards the sun. She can go whatever way. If she wanted to jump in the river and drown, she could. But she's not. She's on her way, straight ahead. Sometimes you're on the road by yourself, but you have to focus on where you're going. You have to keep going forward.
Yes.
All right. We can talk about that one.
This is one of my favorite ones here. Education is the passport to the future, but tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So we got to set goals. We got to have a focus. We got to have a purpose for our life. And as I said, every journey begins with taking one step. And sometimes we have to abort our goals, but that doesn't mean that we're going to give up. We're just going to set some more goals, and we're going to continue on. And I think the key is that never giving up. If your first dream does not come into fruition, don't give up. Set another one and continue to go on, because failure is a part of life. But we don't stop there when failure comes, but we learn from our failure and we lift ourselves up and we continue to go on. And so, and education is the key. You know, man can take away our houses. They can take away our clothes. They can take away our furniture, all of our earthly possessions. But one thing that man cannot take away from you is knowledge, education, study. And that comes with studying. Nobody is going to give you education, but you got to have a mind to want to study and gain knowledge for yourself. The teacher can sit in that classroom all day and teach you, but it's up to you to learn. And once you learn it, no man can take it away from you. And so education is your passport to your future. Remember that. Don't give up. But I want you to keep pressing until you reach your goal. Any questions? We have really enjoyed you all today. Mr. Smith is getting ready to give you just a quick little quiz. And it's going to be so easy because I know all of you were paying attention very attentively. And we just enjoyed being with you all today. Thank you, Dr. Parks. Thank you, Miss Hope, Christian, my baby. Thank you all so much for having us.
All right, the next slide actually is going to I'm going to give you about five to 6 minutes to do it. It's going to have a little website. You can actually go to it on your phone or your computer. When you go there to this particular website, is you do student login, and then you're going to put in the code that I'm going to put up on the screen. It's about 10 questions. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the first 3 people that make a perfect score on this will get a prize, the first 3 people. So here we go. I'm putting the information up on the screen. Here we go.
What's the room name?
The room code is Smith 8519 on that.
Can you say it one more time?
Smith in all capital letters, SMITH 8519.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I see somebody with that. I see somebody with that perfect score.
Awesome.
Excuse me, I had got disconnected. Can you please repeat the
code again?
The room name? Yes.
Smith, SMITH 8519.
That's all caps, right?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Miss Holt told me to share the screen, so I'm gonna share that screen with you all if I can pull it up. Now let me show the screen. Share the screen so everybody can actually see where you are. I think we have actually have three people with that perfect score. I see you.
Mm.
I don't know where else to go to get to.
Put
It's
your
the
share the
class.
screen with your information. I think that's what she wanted you to share.
The link and the room name is in chat.
Oh, okay.
I went to the link, but I don't know where to go after that.
Go to student login. Go to student login at the top. And when you go to student login, it's gonna ask you for your name. You see that?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Okay.
What are the numbers behind Smith again?
8519. And my mom and I, we're gonna get those people that made those perfect scores something, but we're gonna get something for everybody that's participating.
Yes, thank you all so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, and while you are finishing that, I will say that because my mama gave her last little speech. I will say this. Let me say this before we go. It's your road. Remember this. It's your road and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. That, in other words, people will walk with you. You have friends with you. Some you might keep, some you might lose. They may walk with you. They may be with you, but it's still your only road. It's still your road. It's your life. Other people will try to tell you what to do and how to do and all those different things like that, but you have to make sure that you're doing the things that you want to do for the betterment of yourself. So remember that. That is your life, your road. Do what you need to do to make sure that you're successful.
Yes.
So I do appreciate, as my mom said, I do appreciate Dr. Park and Mrs. Holt, my sister, for allowing us to come and talk to you all. I hope something that we've said will encourage you to keep going forward and keep going towards your future and your to be successful in whatever you want to do, whatever you want to be. And I will say this, sometimes you don't know what you want to be and made a decision just yet. That's okay. That's okay. But make sure that you set some goals to make it to somewhere. Make sure you set some goals so that you can move towards being successful and sit down and think about your options and choices. Okay. So thank you. Thanks to all of those that have participated. As my sister said, as my mom said, we'll make sure that those people, I think the first 3 people that I saw with the perfect score are Shakiria, Jamari, and Kaden. I think that, so we'll be sure to get you all something, but everyone else that participates on this, we will get you all something as well.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you. And those that are still doing it, you all go ahead. Ms. Holt, would you like to say any last words or anything like that?
Yes. Thank you all so much. So we will have a certificate for you all and a goodie bag. And I will get that to you all. But I thank you all for coming and speaking to the students.